Hey, hey, Brandon. I'm talking to you, Brandon. Talking to you. Hey, Brandon. Hey, Brandon. Thoughts and ideas inside of your mind, Brandon. Yes. Feel crazy, you know. I feel crazy. Yeah, I know. I know you feel crazy, Brandon. Growing up the way you did, being the youngest inside of a household, going to church a lot, studying a lot of different books and religions, hearing a lot of preachers and teachers, and with so many videos, it seems so many people talking about this, so many people talking about that, so many people saying you need to do this, so many people saying you need to do that, so many people saying the way is this way or the way is that way. A lot of people seem to be relationship coaches, giving relationship advice, telling you what to like, telling you what to think, telling you what to feel. You know, everyone seems knowing all the answers, but why would so many problems still be if everyone is an expert? You know, all the videos, it's like you can't even really watch them, can you? Because everyone claims to know everything about everything and know all the answers about everything, and it's still a problem. So you would feel crazy inside of a world full of experts, professionals, know-it-alls, you know, with all of the perfect answers to all of the perfect problems. And with none of the answers, you know, just a lot of lies. It's like people in love with the sound of their own voice. It's like people in love with looking at their own face on the screen, you know. With people. I don't know them. You don't know them. Strangers. Strange world, strange existence, strange times, you know. And with all of those different books, names, church, buildings, religions, spirit teachings and stuff, you would feel crazy, huh? Yeah. Don't worry about it, Brandon. Don't worry about it, you know. If you are still here and you made it this long, you've done better than a lot of people, you know. Than a lot of people you know, or you thought you know, you know. You don't have a lot because, you know, you never sold out, you know. You never made one of those deals or contracts or partnerships with having sex with someone in the wrong kind of way of, you know, getting money in exchange for doing bad stuff and intentionally telling lies to people about God, church, and life and death, you know. It's crazy. You feel that way? You feel crazy? Yeah, I feel crazy, you know. Well, I am you, Brandon. I am Brandon. I'm talking to you, Brandon. Talk to me, Brandon. Tell me, you know. Tell me how you feel about going to church. The different books. You know, about the word many people call God and what you think of, you know, a God and a judgment and the, you know, the afterlife or all of that stuff, you know. What do you think about it, Brandon? It's what you think. So, you know, you are not instructing anyone or any of it because, you know, talking to yourself, Brandon, talking to you. What do you think? You know, for getting it out of your head, you know. When a lot of people was talking about God and church and a judgment and a name, I think a God would not be mad at me for not knowing a name. I think a God would not be mad at me for saying a word the wrong way. I think a God would not be mad at me for not praising a name. I think a God would not be mad at me for myself being not smart, you know. And they say, you know, what do you mean by being not smart? I say, when I was in the 8th grade, a teacher had a classroom and a girl, or I don't know if it was a girl, but she had got a penny. And she had made it hot. It was a radiator, is what it was called in the classroom, a heater, a radiator. And she had put the penny on the radiator heater. And it got very, very hot. And then she took the penny and threw it at my neck. And it burned. I was in the classroom crying, you know, because being at school in the 8th grade, I was not starting any fights with anyone or doing, you know, I wasn't doing any violence, you know. I felt bad. And when it happened, another teacher moved me from the classroom into another classroom when I was in the 8th grade. I don't know why she did it. I don't know why, you know, the girl did anything. I don't know why the teacher moved me from the class. I thought she moved me from the class because of them being mean to me in the class I was in. The class she moved me inside of, you know, was a different class, you know. And I noticed in the classroom, when the teacher would give out the grades, I had the lowest grade, you know, being the dumbest one in the class, feeling stupid, you know. And sometimes it seems people would say stuff for making a person feel good or feel better, and it would be wrong telling a person, hey, you're smart. Hey, you're clever. Hey, you're a genius and stuff. And then you look at your paper and be like, it's the lowest score in the class. You know, the dumbest one. Why would a person say you're smart? You're a genius. And then, you know, you like gotta go to summer school and stuff. And feeling dumb, you know. So, you know, it was a class. Experiment is what I look at it being, since I was 13 years old in the 8th grade and turned 14 in the 8th grade more than 20 years ago, because I am 39 years old today. You know, and then going to church a lot of people would say this name and that name, and then you gotta do this and you gotta do that, and if you don't do this and if you don't do that, then a God would be very mad. And forever and forever and forever and forever, a lake of fire and burning and suffering and pain and all of that because of you not knowing His name. Because of you not knowing His name. Because of you not praising His name. Because of you not being as smart as other people. And you know, from then to now, it seems like it's the wrong God. It's the wrong God. If it is a God who would be mad at me for being dumb, for not knowing a name, for not knowing the right way of saying a name, for not being as smart as others, for not being part of a group of people, beings with the attitude of, the group. It was a group of people with an attitude of laughing at other people for being dumb or not smart. It happens all the time, a lot. I don't know how to make this phone. I don't know how to make a light bulb. I don't know how to make a TV. I don't know how to make a car. I don't know how to make a air conditioner. I don't know how to make a electronic computer. I don't know how to make a refrigerator or stove. So a group of people with the attitude of ha ha ha, he doesn't know how to do this or how to do that, he's not as smart as everyone else, ha ha ha, should you be treated bad, or Brandon, because of not knowing? I say no. And it's crazy, I was never one of those people going around teasing other people for not being smart, for not knowing how to make a stove, for not knowing how to make a refrigerator, for not knowing how to make an air conditioner, for not knowing how to make electronics, for not knowing how to make a telephone or a video game. I was never one of those people. It's crazy. It made me feel crazy. It's one of the reasons I feel crazy. And these is brown. Is what they say the color is. So, people won't think of illegal street drugs and stuff, So, no, ever since the 8th grade, what I did know is I am not that smart, In the 8th grade, when I learned that I was not that smart, it was other students in class signed up for going to a school of fine arts and the smart school. I don't know what it was called. It's a name for it, but having a problem with names and stuff. I think some people would call it like a magnet school or a smart school or something like that. And people would feel bad for not being smart and being inside of a magnet school or a smart school it would be a school where only the smart children would go. And it seemed like sometimes one of the dumbest ones would be inside the school for the other children to laugh at and making one of the students feel bad for being the dumbest one in the school, you know. And sometimes I feel like what happened, I feel like I was the dumbest one on some level being laughed at from people claiming being smarter than me. You know, being laughed at, like some people like, so how you gonna get out of here, Brandon? Which way you gonna go? You gonna go left? You gonna go right? You gonna go up? You gonna go down? What are you gonna do, Brandon? So what is the magic name? You know, of God. You know, what's the answer, Brandon? Do you know? Brandon, you're dumb. Brandon, you don't know what to do. Brandon, you got beat up. Brandon, you're alone during the holiday seasons. Brandon, other people have cars and houses and buildings, and guess what? Some of them are having sex right now, and you're not. Brandon, you claim to being married, but you're here all alone. What do you know, Brandon? Don't you feel so dumb and so stupid? Isn't it so entertaining to others? What kind of world would this world be? Well, this is the entertainment for everyone. Being mean to a person for not being smart, being mean to a person for not knowing stuff. And then the evilness, if that's the right word, you know, the evilness of wanting a person being afraid and in fear all of the time of not knowing a name of a God, and then not knowing what would happen, and then being afraid of going to a lake of fire and burning and suffering forever and ever and ever for not knowing a name. Would that be the attitude of the God those other people believe in? The attitude of being mean to me for not knowing a name? And the crazy part about it is that, they say, there is no evidence of Brandon. There is no evidence. Of what? I say, is there no evidence of? And they say a being never showed up claiming being God, claiming if you did not know the name, then a lake of fire and burning and suffering forever and ever and ever and ever being a punishment for not knowing a name, for not praising a name, for not having evidence, and for being dumb or stupid or slow. No evidence of a being showing up, claiming of being God, saying burning and suffering and a lake of fire or darkness and forever and ever being punished as a punishment from a God claiming being God. Has any being showed up telling you any of those punishments, Brandon? I say no. No. Unless I forgot and never, or something bad happened with my mind or my brain, and there is no memory of it happening. I don't know what any of those ideas are from, you know. And they say, you know, what if someone invited you, or Brandon, to a place with a God having the exact attitude of being mad at you for not knowing a name, being mad at you for not being smart, being mad at you for not praising a name, because a God claiming of being God never told you a name for praising. What if someone invited you to a place with a God with an attitude of punishing you forever and ever and ever and ever, you know, a punishment of burning and suffering forever and ever and ever for not knowing, you know, for not being smart? Would you be interested in going with such a God? I say no, because it sounds like what they call the devil. It sounds like what they call the devil. A person obsessed with their own name. A person obsessed with you praising their name forever and ever and ever and ever. A person mad at you for not being smart. A person obsessed with punishment. A person obsessed with proving to the world how dumb I am, how stupid I am, how much I do not know. A person obsessed with learning forever and ever and ever and ever. A person obsessed with working forever and ever and ever and ever. A person obsessed with the idea of being praised. It sounds like the devil. Or it sounds devilish and evil. You know, the wrong kind of God. Sometimes it seems like, you know, like, I'm not interested, you know. Nah. It's crazy, you know. So what would be your thoughts of, you know, a God, you know, the right kind of God? Since we're not using any names of Brandon, and thinking your thoughts yourself, since it feels so crazy what everyone else has been taught of a God, and since you seem to think differently of what you think a God is, or a different God or something, what do you think? I think a God, you know, the right kind of God, would not be mad at me for being dumb. I think the right kind of God would not care about if would not care about being praised forever and ever and ever. I think the right kind of God would not want people working forever and ever and ever and ever and ever doing a job that would never ever be done. I think the right kind of God would not, be punishing people for not knowing a name. I think the right kind of God would not be mad at people for, not being part of groups and ideas and practices of if the person, their own self, does not understand what is going on or why any of it is or was or happened, I think the right kind of God, based on what I'm saying, is that I think the right kind of God would not be being mean to people for being crazy or mentally challenged of not knowing answers to different questions of being teased. I think the right kind of God would not be entertained, from watching the suffering and confusion and pain and wrong did inside of this world. It seems some other sick, bad, evil type of personality is the only type of personality who would be entertained from watching the suffering and pain and hurt from beings working on a job that never gets done. Suffering, being teased of not knowing a name. Pain from being hurt mentally, emotionally, and all different kind of ways of what people here call challenges. It seems crazy, I'll tell you this of my character. I saved my voluntary going all the way 6, being my virginity, for the purpose of being married to one female spouse. Only ever in life, you know. And what it means, for what I was taught, is a person has a virginity if a person never had sex. And they say having sex means going all the way. And what it means for my gender, meaning being my gender, means I have private parts. And it means going all the way means, from what I was taught, sticking my own private parts inside of a person's mouth, womb, or butt, and getting the feeling of finishing the job of doing it from what they call an orgasm, whether something came out or not, or if wet stuff came out of my private parts. Inside of a person's mouth, womb, or butt, from me voluntarily doing it. And I never did any of it outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is, you know. Because of believing in what this language calls a God of saving sex, you know, and sex means the going all the way doing it stuff I was just talking about. So, you know, because of believing in a God of saving virginity, my voluntary going all the way 6 for the purpose of being married to one female's spouse, only ever in life, you know. And it's crazy, you know, the way a lot of people have been having the attitude of, ha, Brandon, you saved your virginity for no reason at all. Ha, Brandon. Oh, look at you, Brandon. You're alone in the room. Look at you, Brandon. You tried being a good boy, and look at where it got you. Isn't it funny, Brandon? Isn't it so funny? Believing, following all the instructions, doing all of the steps of what so many churches, Bibles, and books say is right and good. And what do you get from following all the instructions of love and righteousness? And I say, I don't know. What, I get to be laughed at? I get to be called a fool? I don't don't know. You know? I don't know, you know. So I stopped reading those different books and stuff because living it and doing all the steps the right way and having the character of saving my voluntary receipts, my virginity, for the purpose of being married to one female spouse only ever in life. Well, they say when you've done all the steps and made no mistakes along the way, then there's nothing else to do. You did it the right way, Brandon. You did. You did. You did. There's no denying it. There's no one of any gender with a claim of you having what you call sex, of going all the way inside of their mouth or butt or womb outside of the identity of your marriage license certificate with wet stuff coming from inside of your private parts and going into another person's mouth or butt or womb from you voluntarily doing it to them at all. So, you know, a lot of doctors and scientists and preachers and teachers and people, you know, said, what if this was a case study of a lot of what people was told of the Bible, church, religion, God, spirits, and somehow a social experiment of abuse did to me. And people learned from it. And found out it was possible, that it is possible, of saving your virginity and stuff. What would you think if, you know, all of the abuse and all of the bad stuff did to yourself was because of some sick person's experiment of making a bet of could it be did or could it be done? What would you think if your whole life was some experiment from some sick, devilish, demonic evil of a challenge did to you of calling you dumb and stupid and slow and ugly and saying that you would fail. And here you are with the character of yourself. What would you think? What would you say? How would you feel? Brandon, you know, talking to yourself, you know, with no shame, with nothing to hide, you know. I would feel All of it is a bad idea, and I was dead wrong, you know. And I would say this though, you know. There's no point in feeling sorry for me, you know. I'm not looking for attention, and I'm not looking for anyone feeling sorry for me. I'm not looking for a being feeling sorry for me. I'm not looking for a person feeling sorry for me, you know. I'm telling the truth. So, you know, my goal is not going to a place with a guy of being mad at me for being not smart, for not knowing how to make a car, for not knowing how to make a refrigerator, for not knowing how to make a TV, for not knowing how to make a video game, for not knowing how to make a phone, for not knowing how to make an air conditioner and stuff like that, for not knowing a name of a god or a magic and stuff. My goal is not going with such a guy, you know, of being mean to me and making a fool of me and using me for entertainment, being the joke of what such a guy calls a family of abusing me, myself, you know, for the entertainment of such a guy. Whatever the guy of such a character is, seems one of which I am not interested in going with. It seems a family I'm not interested in being part of. It seems a way which is not the right way, you know. So how do you feel, you know, Brandon, if there were others who tried and had problems along the way? If there were others, you know, strangers, if there was a stranger who saved their virginity, you know, being a male, if there were other males who saved their virginity and those other males were strangers, if those other males are strangers who saved their virginity for the purpose of being married to one female spouse only ever in life and got a marriage license certificate, and bad stuff happened to them too, what do you think if a male saved his virginity the same way or similar for the purpose of being married to one female spouse only ever in life and then got a marriage license certificate and then a stranger's wife had sex or a child or a pregnancy from someone outside of a stranger's marriage, you know? Do you think it would be triggering or would be angering to the male? I think it would. I think it would. Yes, I think it would. Because, you know, I think if a male saved their virginity, you know, a stranger save their virginity for the purpose of being married to one female spouse only ever in life. And for example, if he, was at work doing his job, doing the job of being a husband, whatever his job would be, and he came home to his house and his wife was pregnant from someone else having sex with her while he was gone or while he was at work, I think he would be mad. I think he would be like, wait a minute. After saving virginity for the purpose of being married to one female spouse only ever in life and going to work and doing the job of being a husband, you mean to tell me you was having sex with someone else and you had a backup plan of in case things did not work out? You never believed in the marriage, the relationship, the love, and you was having sex with other people inside of the house or with them during the working hours of doing the job of being a husband? It seems the way a husband would feel, angry or mad, and the anger and the madness from being hurt is the same as being abused, because if being abused is the same thing as being hurt, then it seems it is physical abuse and sexual abuse. Because if having sex is physically dead and if having sex is sexual, then if a husband was at work and his wife was physically having sex with someone else, and sexually having sex with someone else, and then the husband would probably feel physically abused from knowing his wife was physically having sex with someone else, and the husband would probably feel sexually abused from knowing his wife was sexually having sex with someone else, and the husband would probably feel mentally abused from the thought of every time he looks at her, knowing she was physically and sexually having sex with someone else, would probably make it hard for loving a person who did not care about him working for her, is what it seems. And I think if a person had a problem of the type of problem of being a husband, going to work while the wife of the husband would be a stay-at-home wife, the problem would seem being a stay-at-home wife means if the husband is outside of the home, whether going to the store or work or anywhere, the wife is not supposed to be having sex with other people while the husband is outside of the home or while the husband is inside of the home. You know? Because they say being a stay-at-home wife means staying at home waiting for your husband no matter where he is, and staying at home not having sex with other people. And waiting for your husband and only having sex with your husband no matter what thoughts or ideas or feelings or ways others have, you know. So they say, you know, being a witness, a lot of males, men, boys, gentlemen, guys have had problems before of loving a girl, a lady, a woman, a female, and loving a girl so much of telling a girl, you stay at home while the work gets did, and you be a stay-at-home wife living the good life, being treated the best from your husband, is what they say, you know. A lot of males, men, boys, guys, gentlemen would have said for their own wife, you know. And domestic violence, or what they call crimes of passion, have happened when in self-defense from being hurt, there is no shame in being hurt, you know. A person has felt hurt from being a husband, going to jobs, working, saving his virginity, telling others no, and coming home, meeting his own wife, and finding out from her or others that she was having sex with other people behind his back. And then he got mad because he wasn't paying for her having sex behind his back with other people. He wasn't working for her having sex behind his back with other people. And you know, the feeling of being a person, feeling the hurt of she was sexually having sex with someone else behind his back. He felt hurt. He felt attacked. He felt physically attacked because she physically had sex and it physically hurt him. So, in self-defense, he physically hurt her. And it was her fault because it was a reaction to her physically hurting him first. When there is no evidence of him ever having sex with anyone because he saved his voluntary going all the way sex for the purpose of being married to one female spouse only ever in life. It's not funny. It's not a game. Some people call it being a player and was talking about the game being sold and not told and all of that craziness. If a person has physically hurt you from getting pregnant or having sex behind your back while you was at work or gone somewhere else and all of that and the physical sex of someone physically having sex, physically making a pregnancy, voluntarily doing it behind your back would physically hurt you and would physically hurt from heartbreak and would physically hurt from a headache and would physically and mentally hurt from the thought of every time you look at her physically, mentally, and emotionally, you yourself being hurt from knowing she did not care and did not love you the same way you loved her. And in self-defense, sometimes people have ended up hitting her or hurting her or attacking her in self-defense from which she started the hurtful process. And they say in a lot of those situations, some of them have lost their lives from being the cheating wife or the cheating spouse. And you know, it is a game that should never be played, of talking about a game being sold and not told and being a player and having a backup plan. What if he leaves you? Or what if he finds somebody else? Or what if he moves on? Girl, what you gonna do? You can't be putting all your trust in your husband, in your man, in your boyfriend, in your lover. But then when the guy finds out, so you never believed in me. The whole time you was listening to someone else saying, what if he leaves you? What if he finds somebody else? What if he moves on? So you had a backup plan and was doing it for someone else for some other future planned outside of the marriage the whole time. Is what some other stories I've heard of strangers and others would be speaking of and being a witness of myself having the character of saving my virginity for the purpose of being married to one female spouse only ever in life. If a person question me of if I think it would hurt being in one of those situations, I think it would. So it might have been a long answer, but the answer I was saying is I think it would hurt being in a situation of, you know, someone telling a truth to you of being cheated on if you gave your all for your marriage and was cheated and hurt from someone having going all the way sex with someone else outside of the identity of your marriage. And it seems it would hurt worse or more if a pregnancy was made. And it seemed like the worst hurt of all would be if a child was born from it. That's what it seems. So, I did not name any names, and I'm not specifically talking about anyone, and I'm not talking about anyone directly, and I'm not talking about anyone indirectly, and there's nothing for reading into or between any lines or any kind of messages or codes. What I'm saying is answering a question of if a person had the character of saving their virginity for the purpose of being married to one spouse only ever in life and was cheated on, would I think it would hurt? And the answer of the question is, I think it would hurt. I think it would hurt mentally from the thought of knowing it. I think it would hurt physically, because if physical sex was had, it would physically hurt. Physically thinking about a physical, and I think it would hurt always, in every way. Of mental, physical, emotion, passion, feelings, and I think it will hurt. So, thinking the way I think is part of why I myself never had sex outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is, And being a witness, a lot of people don't care. And I'm not asking anyone for caring. I'm not asking anyone for feeling sorry for me. I'm not asking anyone for praise for me. I'm not asking anyone for love for me. I'm not asking anyone for feelings for me. I believe according to the way this according to this language, the word, they say God is, I believe, a God of saving virginity, of sex, going all the way sex for the purpose of being married. And they say it's very important saying going all the way, because they say, what does going all the way means? They say, what is the importance of not going all the way? And they say, if you feel wrong for having the wrong kind of sex, and if a person being a male, having a male private part, was voluntarily attempting having sex outside of the identity of what a marriage license certificate says the marriage is to each other, being married to each other, then a bad feeling of not going all the way means when a person would stop and there would be no wet stuff going inside of a person's mouth or womb or butt from his penis, from his private parts, because a person would stop without wet stuff coming out, going inside of a person's mouth, womb, or butt. Or if wet stuff was not able of coming out, you know, like if it was an old person or one of the old people, or if a person was too young, one of those young people, and stuff wasn't able of coming out, then a person would stop before getting the sensational, tingly feeling, the sensitive feeling of what they call having an orgasm. And then the person would have the character of saying, I don't know what it feels like having voluntary sex outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is, because I never had voluntary sex outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is. So if a person asks, how did it feel after you did it, after you got some, you know, after you got your orgasm, after the wet stuff came out of you inside of her, you know, after you got your nut, then the person would say, I don't know, because I never did. You know, thinking of going all the way and thinking of doing it is not the same thing as actually doing it and actually going all the way. You know? So, from what I think, you know, and me myself, speaking of myself, you know, I don't know what it feels like, you know, having sex, you know, going all the way, you know, outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is. Because I have no experience in doing it, you know, having sex, you know, going all the way, you know, outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is, you know. So is it funny? Am I stupid? Is there a different God laughing at me for entertainment purposes? Accusing me of being stupid? Accusing me of being a problem? Accusing me of not being a player? Accusing me of lies? Then if there is such a God, I have no plans of going with such a God of the character of him or her or whatever character of being against me, you know. And I believe there is such a different God of loving me a higher up, something greater than myself, something more than myself, something more than me, something bigger than me, something smarter than me, something more powerful than me. According to this language called a God of love, a God of loving the character of my saving my virginity, my voluntary going all the way 6 for the purpose of being married to one female spouse only ever in life. And if I am the only one believing in such a God, then I think it's crazy. And the reason why I think it's crazy, because if I'm the only one believing in such a God, I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy because almost every church I ever went to preached of saving virginity for a marriage, of saving sex for marriage. Almost every church I ever went to preached of such a God of saving sex for marriage. With so many witnesses of so many churches preaching about the importance of virginity and sex and saving virginity for a marriage, it seems that everyone knows of a God of saving virginity and saving sex for the purpose of marriage. So why would it seem as if I am the only one believing in such a God? I don't know. I don't know. And one of the craziest parts is, it must be God. You know, the same God I got my instructions from. Because since there's not a sister or a brother or a family member or anyone identifying themselves as having the character from my birth parents or my birth family of saving their virginity for the purpose of being married, and then there was no example of getting the instructions from whether people called themselves in-laws of my marriage or whether people claimed being the birth parents or birth parents of the birth family of me. Because if not one of them ever stepped up with evidence of their sex life, of saving their voluntary sex for the purpose of being married, and then there was no example of following instructions from other than the God of saving virginity for being married, you know. Sometimes it seems as if I'm the only one from what some say is my birth family or the in-laws of my marriage. Sometimes it seems as if I'm the only one following the instructions of saving my sex, my virginity, my sex, of going all the way for the purpose of being married with the character of never having sex outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is. So, you know, I don't know what happens from here. I don't know the future.